You know, like freaking sneeze. And then our phones are too bad.
Why?
I can barely run my face.
I usually run around a 7-minute mile on a track, but I'm usually like 6:15, 6:30.
It's different.
My name is James Kelly. I've been playing tennis for 4 years and I'm in the 11th grade. My brother joined tennis and I was in need of a spring sport to play. The teammates make good jokes and it's always fun to talk to them and see the different opponents and talk to the different opponents after matches and all that. Try during practice. Don't be lazy. I've seen a lot of that and it doesn't improve anybody. Second.
I've been coaching boys tennis for 5 years and girls tennis for 3 years. 1 year was middle school girls, and then the past 2 years have been varsity for both levels. So I was hired in Tomah Area School District in 2012. I actually came in and I coached volleyball for 3 years, I think. Yeah. So I coached middle school volleyball because I played volleyball more in high school and I really enjoyed it. And then at the time she was Coach Delleman. You may now know her as Mrs. Soper, but she was the boys coach at the time. So she was the varsity boys coach. And I remember playing tennis with her one summer or spring. I think it was in the summer. And she said, "Wow, you're like actually pretty good at tennis. Like you should be coaching the boys." And I was like, "All right, I could try it out," because I know like she definitely enjoyed coaching the girls, but the boys are a whole nother challenge. So I decided to take it over then. I think the spring of 2014, I think technically, if I think about it right, yeah, that's when I took over and was the boys varsity coach. I want to say that it had to have been at least 4 years is what I'm thinking. It was like probably about 4 years, 3 or 4. So I remember starting playing tennis probably like maybe late elementary school or maybe like early middle school is what I think.
Why did you decide to play tennis?
Because my friends were playing. Like literally it was.
At this time, students taking the AP staff test, please head to the library. Students taking the AP staff test, please head to the library.
Okay, so at the time, my neighborhood friends, I remember Tommy and Alex had already, I think, I don't know which one like first started, but then they're like, "Hey, this is really fun to play in the summer," and we had an awesome Parks and Rec program at Neenah, where I grew up. And it was within walking distance of where I lived, and so we'd play tennis every morning, through Parks and Rec, and learn how to play tennis and had fun doing that. And I remember later on, like you eventually got to like the older group lessons, and those were across town, and so we had to like bike all the way across town every morning, and so it was always really fun to do that. Coach of the Year award. So this was from my second year of coaching for boys tennis. And so I guess to give you perspective on it, my first year of coaching, I don't think we won any duels. I mean, I basically inherited a team that was bad. Like they just, it's not that they were necessarily like coached poorly or anything like that. They were just kind of young and experienced. and not a whole lot of like discipline with them. So it was kind of like, hey, yeah, we're practicing, but we're not really practicing to get much better. And so that first year was like, it was tough. Like as a team, we never won any duels, but we got a decent number of points in conference. I think we were still like 6th or 7th in conference, something like that. But then my second year, basically we won a few duels that year, and so that was big. And so we even won, like we started winning some like non-conference matches, like teams that we hadn't beaten before. And basically it was an award, like it's an award given by the coaches in the conference, and it was like, hey, I think it's kind of like two reasons. One, like, thanks for sticking around at Tomah is like one reason for it. And two, like, hey, clearly your team got better and like you're actually now competitive when Tomah hadn't been competitive for many, many years. There have been a lot of ups and downs this year. I'd say one of the big ones is definitely weather. That's been like the biggest like down, where like the first 3 weeks of the season were kind of a wash, where it was like, and we have a foot of snow. And so what stunk about that is like we lost out on a bunch of matches. I think the other like kind of like down from the season was just that like we have a group of great guys. I'd say it's our strongest team. Like what stinks about it is like our conference teams are stronger this year. Like they didn't graduate as many, and like we have guys that are like playing close matches and just not winning ones that they maybe could have or should have, and hopefully even today in our conference tournament they're able to pull those out. But those have been kind of like the lows. I'd say like the highs of it though, when I was thinking about this at lunch, there are teams like non-conference teams that we've typically played in the past that we beat thoroughly. There's like Reedsburg and Black River Falls, and like even just some of our Rapids, and who else? It was like Lakeland. Like, we were like stronger than those teams, by a fair amount. And so like overall, I think like our depth is there. We have like 10 solid players. It's just getting them all to like a really good level is the big challenge. I'd say others like surprises. I was super worried about recruiting this year, and then we actually have a bunch of freshmen out. So that was worrying me at first. We only had 2 freshmen, and now I think we have like 5 or 6, I think, at this point. So, and there's a lot of potential with them. Even like where we have to have some freshmen step up this year, and so that's kind of like down. It's a positive, negative. Like positive, they get that varsity experience now. Negative, they're like your first year of tennis, you're not really ready for varsity tennis. It's just different. It's just longer, more challenging, and like I guess the other downfall this year is one of our one doubles players is sick. That's always a challenge, and so it's the next man up piece. And so it's a positive, negative. Like I said, great, somebody gets experience, but it like our lineup's fragile, and you can tell like if we would have had our half of our one doubles team, do we beat Sparta? Do we beat Spash? I think we do for sure. It's more of a solid win, but it is what it is, and you got to go with what you got. I'm super excited about summer tennis this year. It's our biggest, like most offerings for a summer that we've had. And so what's really fun about it is we have like the morning stuff where it's like middle school and high school groups in the morning. It gets a chance where what I love about it is I get to work with a lot of like the middle schoolers who are young and up and coming, and I know I can teach them the skills and get them going in the right direction, because we haven't had the most ability as like at the middle school level for a coach there, but it gets them better in the summer. And then also there's the high school morning lessons, which just reinforce those good skills, prevent us from getting worse, and it's a chance to play, have fun, play in the mornings, and do all that. In the nights now, what's great is we have like our USTA Tennis League, which is super fun, where we actually, on Wednesday nights, we get to play against teams from the area like Sparta, Black River, Viroqua, Portage, Mauston. And so we host it every Wednesday, and it's fun because you just get a bunch of matches in. You're playing against other people from other towns, and just a lot of tennis happens. So I thoroughly enjoy that. And so for that, we have like another practice night during the week. But then the new thing that we're trying out this year is I had to come up with a name for it. I'm calling it Elite Tennis this summer. And so that one's on Monday and Thursday nights because everybody was like, well, I can't do tennis because it's in the mornings. That's when I work. I'm like, okay, all right. So then we'll offer one at night. And so that one's going to be a little more intense. I've been thinking about how I want to do that. The big thing that's in it, like there will be some like conditioning involved, and so that'll be kind of like the biggest challenge of it. The other things that we have then for summer tennis as well, we also have our tennis camp, and that's one of the last weeks in July, and so that's fun. Again, there's like an early morning like middle school group, and then we have the high school group, and it's just like consistently for a week there where there's a lot of time to play a lot of tennis and get people interested, bring a friend. And the cool thing is, like, my goal is make tennis available for everyone, make sure that, every age level, every skill level is welcome, and then also where it's not, like tennis shouldn't be like an elitist sport where if you can't afford to play it, you shouldn't be playing it. Like, it should be affordable for everybody, and, we want to include everybody. Lots of things. I mean, every year it depends on like the group of players that you get. I know next year for girls season, we're gonna have a pretty strong team throughout. Like, not necessarily like we'll have the strongest spots, but we'll definitely have the most depth that we've had because we'll have players probably throughout who have had at least 2 years experience on varsity. Like, what's exciting about that is we lose one varsity player. She's really good, but it's my first year where we have a full set of players where it's like, oh, hey, we have like a full group, and even in the year after, we're going to basically have that same group. So you have a chance to get them a lot of varsity experience, get better. Boys, it'll be definitely like a rebuilding year, just because we have a lot of good young talent, but they need to get out this summer if they want to be competitive next year. I know we can get them there, but beyond that, there's things that I've just learned as like watching like state level tennis, watching teams in our conference, watching how our players do. Just what are the shots I need to teach them? What are the different expectations I need to have? And how do I encourage them to like play their best tennis when they're in a match? So yeah.
Oh! That was not out line. That was all line. Who's? What?